Welcome everybody to the Unsprawling Podcast, a show about Calgary's urban fabric and the folks working incredibly hard to improve it. My name is Hazen, or you can call me Biz, and I'm joined today by a panel of wonderful guests that we'll introduce here in a little bit. These are the folks who have had the biggest contributions to the Unsprawling Forum in a variety of ways, bringing a variety of skills and perspectives to the table. These folks helped build our infrastructure up on the forum to the point where I can say it is now open. We're launching it today into open alpha. The link is in the description, community.unsprawling.org. You can create an account, invite all your friends, start posting all your knowledge and ideas onto a platform designed for having urban activists gather and collaborate somewhere that search engines can actually find. And especially give us lots of feedback because it is an alpha, and we need lots of feedback to make this as good as possible for everybody. And if you want to help out, we love that too. This is supposed to grow it and change with the community as we use it. And so we're going to go around and introduce each person on the panel. So tell me a little bit about your background and what makes you excited about Calgary's local activism scene and the ways that your skills have contributed to the forum. Let's start with Corbyn.
Hello, everybody. My name is Corbyn, a former resident of Calgary, now out in Delta, BC. I moved out 3 years ago or so, and I've been helping with some of the technical side of things with Unsprawling and some of the framework for threads and, I guess, interface and some other sorts of things with the forum. It's kind of exciting to have such an activated group of people interested and excited about urban planning and urbanism and better urban form in Calgary, which is not too common, I find, in a lot of places to have at least so many centralized groups like Unsprawling and Strong Towns and More Neighbors Calgary. I found this group through Strong Towns Calgary originally and got to witness kind of the springing up of Unsprawling. So they've been picking my brain from the technical standpoint for form stuff, which was mostly Jake, but at the back end, and I've been helping with some of the asset library management side of things. And yeah, we can move on.
Yeah, definitely. I think the work that Corbyn does is a little bit nebulous to me because it's totally out of my wheelhouse. But it's some of the most necessary work to making these platforms function and work just on the very technical, getting the IT to actually function, and it's something that I notice is kind of a problem. In a lot of places in Calgary is these sort of outdated, websites or social media things that somebody like us hasn't really come around to love and put some of that effort in towards. And so it's really great that we have found somebody from outside of the city, but still cares a lot about the city, of course, and visits pretty often to help out with that. Jakob, what's your perspective?
Like you said, my name is Jakob. Also go by Jake sometimes. My day job, I work as a policy analyst and coordinator. I'm a soon-to-be MRU business grad. I've got some experience in film, and then like many urbanists in Calgary, I think, got involved by probably watched. What's that YouTube channel? Not Just Bikes. Then got into, I think he recommended Strong Towns Calgary at some point, looked them up, and then from there got into More Neighbors Calgary. And now we have Unsprawling. So kind of a little snaky road to get here, but here we are now, sitting here. So like Corbyn said, I help maintain the forum back end with him. Corbyn definitely is more of an expert on that stuff than I am. I'm very junior or beginner at all that back-end technical stuff, but I'm learning as I go. I also help with just generally populating the forum over the last few weeks and implementing features like the event calendar we've got going now, and a groups feature on there too, which is coming along really nicely. I guess I would say my personal mission statement that I've typed in many places is that I believe communities become empowered when we enable connections beyond the silos we often find ourselves in. And I believe that really resonates in Calgary. We've got many, many great organizations here, particularly in the urbanist community. And I'm excited to see how Unsprawling can activate those connections between everybody, and what comes of it. But yeah, I'll pass it on to Emma.
Totally. I'll take over for a little bit just because I wanna add on to that. If people aren't familiar with what Unsprawling is doing, I know that was a big question from a lot of folks early on. Is like, how is this different from yada yada other organization that I've been a part of? And I think we really want to be instead of another organization doing kind of our own thing, we're more of the glue that tries to hold other organizations together. And like what Jake said in his story, getting involved through, we really rely on people to put these kind of things out into the public consciousness. If it's not just by saying, hey, here's a series about strong towns, and then you find strong towns, and then you kind of climb the ladder from there. But one thing we noticed is that it's really difficult to find what you're really, really interested in. And then when you do, and if you have other things that you're interested in, it's hard to integrate those. So if you're, if you care about housing policy and you want to get involved in that, you have to know that More Neighbors Calgary is the thing. And sometimes that's really difficult in these private chat rooms where you don't really want to necessarily tell other people about all the different things that are going on in the city, because you don't really want them to leave your chat room and become way more active somewhere else. And so that was one of the big things behind the forum, is we want to try to take down some of those territorial barriers so that we can really start to interact with each other a little bit more. Emma, what's your background, and how does that contribute to the Unsprawling ecosystem?
Yeah, so I graduated from Mount Royal last year with a psychology degree and minored in social innovation, and I feel like it was way more than a minor, because that's kind of how I collected all of my experience and interest in everything, really. Any extracurricular experiences and everything was all for the purposes of contributing to social change. So throughout that journey, I kind of found what my core values were, and I really tried to do anything, anything subject agnostic, I guess. It doesn't really matter what it is, as long as it has to do with collaboration and knowledge sharing and centering people's lived experiences. So I'm really happy that I found Unsprawling. It seems to be so far a great community of people that are just excited to work on stuff together, and I find that that's not always the easiest thing to do, especially in today's economy, I guess. And yeah, so I'm just happy that I can contribute to something. And yeah, thanks for having me.
Awesome. Yeah. I think you had originally joined the More Neighbors Calgary Discord server because you had a youth housing survey or something that you wanted more responses for, and that was one of those things that it's when you had posted, you were like, I'm not really sure if this is an intended use of this space, and kind of were asking for some help. And that's another one of those things that it's that's something I think researchers can really benefit from, something like the forum, if we create spaces where that's really clearly something that is happening, and so it's an expectation of the space. Whereas a private chat room that could be posting various links might get a little bit strange, or if it starts taking over parts of the conversation, and it can be difficult to create a space specifically for that in every server. And yeah, it was definitely one of those things that it's how do we create more space for something like this, so that we can find some of that value, because that's definitely actually just getting out there and asking people and saying, what are the problems you're facing, is something I haven't really seen many activist organizations that I'm a part of at least yet do. But I know that that's a big part of creating social change, is being able to show those big numbers with the big sample sizes. I'm Biz, which I said at the beginning. My background is pretty scattered. I did art-centered learning all throughout grade school. I've actually only taken a handful of university courses. I'm kind of still a first-year student going into U Calgary in the fall semester. But art-centered learning is really, really cool because they teach like communications and media and design skills alongside pretty much everything else. And then I also did some construction, which led me into a bit of more like a hands-on career doing manufacturing work outside of high school. And so I kind of see myself as a bit of an artist and a communicator and like a builder, somebody who's really trying to make stuff and find places where maybe the flow isn't quite working as well as it could. And so I've been basically the project manager for Unsprawling for the last little bit, trying to bring people together to push our ideas closer to completion so that we can all build a better Calgary together. And so that's why I'm super excited that the forum is ready for public use. It's definitely got lots of room to keep growing, to make sure that it's the best service to the community that we can make it be. Unsprawling is really about connecting and platforming Calgarians and helping folks better understand the movements happening in our city and get involved with them easier. And so this forum wasn't always a planned part of that. At first it was more of just like we want to be like a media production outfit that's helping people on mostly social media work. And we'll get a little bit more into the history later. But I think it slowly became, doing the forum became an inevitability as we were looking into how do we actually do that and facilitate that in a way that's as inclusive as possible and that actually works and scales well. And I think the main thing is that not everybody knows how to or feels very comfortable joining and staying updated with various private chat rooms on various proprietary platforms. It's usually like Discord or Slack, or some people are on WhatsApp, and it's like all these apps that you have to install and set up notifications for and keep checking. And so we like really wanted activism in Calgary to happen somewhere different, somewhere that's just built into your web browser. And so it became clear that if we're going to encourage collaboration between different organizations, there's a lot of different things that we're going to have to do to make that work. And so I want to rotate to everybody and talk about, what do you think makes the forum as a medium unique? What value do you think we're able to unlock with this approach? And what's your favorite feature that we have on the site right now? I'll start with Corbyn.
My favorite feature, or what part of the community it'll unlock?
A little bit of both. I'm asking a triple-barreled question. Let's start with the feature, though.
I think the primary feature of a forum that I see benefit into versus a lot of these communities, including Unsprawling, really seem to be growing out of Discord, and Discord is where a lot of engagement happens. I have major concerns with Discord being a primary growth factor in important seedling communities, because all of the information being shared and interacted with over Discord is a locked-in proprietary platform that isn't accessible to people who are not in that Discord already. And the fact it's often in a chat-based interface. I know Discord does have a forum-like system, but I find that to be kind of overwhelming. So having a publicly searchable forum makes that information open and accessible to people wanting to dip their toes into the community and get more engaged, rather than it just being this black box of chat-based information over Discord where you have to find a link to the Discord in the first place just to go through and then you're wading through weeks or months or years of backlog chats. And so Discord is good as a way for immediate ethereal engagement where the communication is happening kind of in the here and now. But as soon as the here and now is past, sure, that information still might be in Discord, but it's not accessible or fun to wade through. So having things in a forum structure, which has been a proven community engagement type of online platform for 20, 30 plus years, I think using something proven like that will give leaps and strides to new growth and engagement with a seedling organization like Unsprawling. It, I think, is more intuitive for a lot of folks. That might just be my older Gen Z brain, though, because that's what I grew up on was forums. I do see younger folks seem to understand Discord a lot more, and so we might see engagement issues on a traditional forum be less or so with a traditional forum. And so it might be more with younger folks having a stream of starting on Discord, and then when they want to cement information for longer term, they'll end up going to this forum instead of Discord. So when they want to preserve something for the longer run, then they'll create a thread or share information in a wiki or library system, which we've been building out on the forum. Sorry if that was kind of rambly. That was...
No, all good. That's what the podcast is for. I think, I think one of my favorite things about the forum is that we're using this provider called Discourse, which is a totally open source platform that has a very, very active developer community behind it. And so it's really nice for somebody like me who knows like almost nothing about computer science at all, I was still able to make a lot of contributions to the forum, find different features or different different stuff that would just make it easier, more pleasant to use, that I could quickly add on and plug in and implement and make it work and make it look pretty. And so that's been a really, really great thing about this, is how easy it is for just anyone to search up. If you go to community.unsprawling.org today and there's something that you're saying, this doesn't quite work, and I think it might work better if something like this was going on, it's super easy to search like Discourse, name of the feature that you're thinking about, and then see if it works. And then we actually have a part on the forum for that you can you can submit those ideas, and then we'll know what are some of the issues that people are having or some of the ideas to make it a better place. Jake, what are some of the what's your top feature and the value that you see in it?
Oh, so many. I think, like you said earlier, Unsprawling kind of started as that media organization or a media collective of creators. I believe to create content for organizations like More Neighbors Calgary or Strong Towns that might not have the capacity at the organizational level to create content. But if you put it into Unsprawling, then you can create content for multiple organizations on issues that are important to them, on events they're hosting, on initiatives they're running. And also, like you said, the forums kind of seemed like an inevitability of how do we bring all these ideas together, and how do we find what to make that content on. And by bringing these ideas into the forum, you're kind of letting a natural process happen of organizations are going to post what they want to share with the rest of the community, what matters most to them, and that will kind of naturally filter to the top. And eventually, who knows, Unsprawling could make a short out of it, a full video out of it, and just kind of get the message across about what those organizations are trying to achieve. And yeah, just better interconnectedness. But yeah, there's so many features right now. I like the events calendar anybody who goes on Unsprawling right now, signs up, can post a community event that they know of or they themselves are hosting. And you can categorize it by the organization that's hosting it. And then we have like a general Confluence section of just posting initiatives and stuff. There's so much I could talk about, and I'm sure we'll get into it later in the podcast as well.
Totally.
I'll stop there.
Yeah, I think figuring out exactly how we can make the forum into a place to like really encourage content production is still there's lots of ways that we could take that I think would make that a little bit easier. But I do think it's like we never had to really implement anything super crazy on the Discord server, and that's basically how our Discord server is run. Is we use those forum sections as like a community sketchbook where people are like, I have this idea, here's the idea I'm having, here's like the things that would be required in order to make that idea work, and it doesn't need to happen right away. But then that's at least saved somewhere that's really easily searchable. And it's just been a really great way to make conversation happen in a way that's a bit more organized and a little bit more easy to figure out what's going on, or find a place where you can easily find your interests or contribute. Yeah, totally. And the events calendar is super sweet. I really hope that people get in there and use that as such a nice centralized resource. I think you can export it and put it into your Google Calendar, I think. We've been a little bit back and forth between different events calendar providers, each with like a little bit different feature sets, and so we might have another shakeup as some updates come through, but that's definitely been a huge asset that we really want to work really well for the community. Emma, what's your favorite feature on the Unsprawling Forum?
Yeah, I mean, being such a fan of collaboration, I guess, as well, I am really excited for the events calendar, but also just the Confluence space, the initiatives category specifically. I think there's always so many ideas, that I personally have, and also when talking to my friends and stuff that are in the similar kind of innovation entrepreneurship space, but are maybe still just students, and it's hard to have any capacity to really do a lot of anything. So I'm excited to be able to find more people that way, not even just personally, but I'm just excited about seeing how it all plays out with everybody else and kind of being able to observe the interaction and collaboration happening, like from a backseat, I guess. But yeah, I'm excited that there's a space for this finally, because there's not really, as far as I know, there's not really a good space like this where you can actually, where you're encouraged to sort of self-promote your own events, because it's always like, I don't know, you enter Discord and it's like, no self-promotion. Well, dang, because, that's all what we're trying to do, what everyone's trying to do in any organization. And I just feel like collaboration makes so much more sense if we're trying to get anywhere. So I am super excited.
Yeah, I think that's been one of the guiding principles is how do we make activism less territorial? Because nobody is like genuinely intentfully trying to be difficult with other people. I think it's a lot of just materially the platforms that we're using and some of the limitations of them. I like to think about it as like water pipes, and maybe that's a little topical. But if you have so many water pipes that are spread so thin across the city, they're not going to be running with very high pressure. I guess just geometrically. And so if you think about different organizations sprout up and people are being like, oh, not another Discord server, right? Do not start another Discord server because it sucks. Somebody else starts another Discord server, and then if you care about it, it's another thing that you're going to have to check up on. Or if you don't care about it, but you care about something else, it's like now somebody who's now more invested somewhere else is going to not be in your presence as often. And so we really were like, what if we organize conversations not on like interest, but like just type of conversation. So we have like the events, and then we have just kind of the general space for different kinds of chats called the Confluence. And then the wiki which is really, really cool. Just the little tidbits of knowledge that people have about these various Calgary things that are not important enough to go on Wikipedia, but are still very, very necessary to have out there for people who are like, what the heck is an LAP or an RCG or a I like how Catherine had said a TLA, a 3-letter acronym. And so all that stuff is there, which is really great.
Is there risk, would you all say, in there's an XKCD comic, it's about kind of technical things where it says, oh, there's 14 standards and all of them have these issues. So let's create a 15th standard to try and centralize all of those standards.
Totally.
And is there a risk of unsprawling being that, as saying, oh, we have all of these other organizations and groups, so let's try and create a central group, which started as primarily a Discord and now a forum. And now we're asking people of other groups to not only focus on that other organization they were originally a part of, but now unsprawling Discord and forum, etc.
Totally. Jacob, you seem like you wanted to take that one away. I can talk about this too, though.
Okay. You can go first. I can go first. Start wherever.
So this is, I have had conversations with people where they're like, oh, great, what we need is another platform. And it is, like, I've done social media work, and I know how frustrating it is to have to multiply the work you're doing onto, oh man, do I really want to start a Mastodon account or something, so that or a Threads account? Like, oh my God, it takes like way more work to actually put some of this stuff out there. And that's a feature that we're definitely looking at improving, is to not only have this integrate different conversations onto our platform, but also have what happens in our platform easily integrate outside of it. And so there's a lot of this really cool stuff with webhooks and Federation, where this is not just a hub, like infrastructurally, but also materially, that the things that happen here can go elsewhere. So there could be, and we'll have to do experimentation on this and see how it works. And that's a lot of what we really need people like yourself watching this video to come and use the space and let us know what works about it, what doesn't, so that we can continue improving it as we go, and trying to integrate it into different spaces. One thing I know that we've installed as a plugin, but we haven't really played around with yet, is having content on the forum. Say if a member of More Neighbors Calgary comes and posts something in the More Neighbors Calgary tag, we could have that forum post automatically populate the More Neighbors Calgary server. And so we'll have to figure out how to make that work. If it would take like creating a special place for that on the More Neighbors Calgary server or what. And if it could kind of go both ways. And so this is a lot of stuff that we have to think about to make this not just like another barrier that somebody has to, like, we really want this to provide like the maximum value for the least amount of effort. Yeah, if you have anything to talk about that relationship that people will have as a bit of a startup cost with the platform.
Totally. I think like Corbyn said with the centralization problem, I think it would be a mistake to say Unsprawling is trying to centralize all these organizations' infrastructure into the forum, all their conversations, all their side chats. I don't. That's not what Unsprawling is trying to do. We're trying to create a hub for them to communicate with others, and right now that part of their trying to spread the word with other organizations, that's really hard for them to do. We've heard that from several organizations already. They love the idea of connecting with other organizations, finding other organizations even, learning what the work they're doing is so they don't duplicate the work already being done. But yeah, I don't know. Sorry, I got off track there. I don't know where I was going with that. But yeah, my main message is we don't want to centralize the work all these different organizations are doing. If Unsprawling can be a place where people find an organization and look at the work they're doing and they're like, wow, I'm really passionate about this, then they can go into that organization's chain of different socials and networks they have and work in there. But yeah, just about connecting people at the end of the day, social network of sorts.
I think the value proposition, the language I've liked to use is like, it does take effort. Like you have to put effort into putting things onto this platform, but you have a way higher potential of reaching an audience that you wouldn't normally reach.
Yeah.
And the audience that you do normally reach, that you have, is way more engaged because they're not relying on you to feed them on a consistent basis. You'll have like a network where every addition to the network actually more than linearly makes it a better place. Like the network effect, like every new bike lane is more than just a new bike lane, but it's a connection to different bike lanes, and it's part of this big network that we can actually improve, even if it's just incrementally. And so I think the best way to get value, to make this platform something really valuable, is to have people on it who are really valuable, doing really valuable work. And so that's definitely the big push right now, is to get people on there, checking it out, using it, seeing the different types of things they can do. Maybe there's things that they want to do there that we don't have space for yet, and we can continue to change it and mush it as we go. I'm curious if Emma, because I know that you had built our big, almost like a client relations document where we were like, what's every organization in the city of Calgary that is interested about anything, and like what do they do, and who would we get in contact with if we were interested to learn more about what they do. What have you heard about that kind of makes you feel like what we're doing is really valuable to those people?
Yeah, well, I mean, one thing about me is I'm extremely detail-oriented, and once I start on something, I will just keep going forever, for the most part. So, it really is like every organization imaginable. I mean, I'm sure there's more we're missing, but we definitely tried to populate it pretty well. And then, in terms of the value that it adds, I guess I'm just hoping like that more organizations will be able to find each other that way. And I mean, as I mentioned, like it'll be a good source to promote things, and like hopefully it adds value. We don't want it to be like another platform or another another thing that is work. Hopefully there's nerds like me out there who are just excited about working on things together.
Totally. I think that's definitely the big calculation. It's a bit of like a chemical reaction, a bit of an equilibrium, where in order for this to be successful, it needs to generate more energy than it takes from people, and that's like the big above or below the bar that we really have to make sure we get right with features that are really adding value to the community, really being a service that people want to use rather than something they feel like they're forced to use for whatever reason. And so I feel pretty confident about this. I think it's really awesome to have a lot of these resources somewhere. It's something that like I would just use. Like to have like my events that I go to even be a little bit more organized in a way that I can make sense of. And I think if even like 2 or 3 other people were to do that come from slightly different backgrounds, then we'd be pretty close to like a full picture. And so stuff like that, I feel pretty optimistic that we can get quite a bit of output with very little input on this. But I guess the main thing is that as we were organizing things like the push to get rezoning for housing passed a few weeks ago, which we did, and so everybody do a little celebration dance. That took everybody. Like that really took getting the climate people together, getting the bike people together, getting the Alliance for the Common Good together. I'm sure I'm missing like a billion people. The students, oh my god, the students and the student unions, they were so important there. Like really getting those people together on a call, talking about this weekly, strategizing. What are we going to do? How are we going to get people interested in this? How are we going to communicate this to people who aren't sure about it? And I think that's really where the idea for the forum started. We didn't know it would be a forum yet, but I think that's really where it started, where we were like, we need a better way to collaborate with people that doesn't rely so much on people with boundless charisma who find it super easy to just hop in somebody's DMs and work together on things like that. And so I think, just being a bit more transparent about the work that we're doing and really having radical transparency. I think Jake had said earlier in some thread, and just sharing what we're working on and inviting people to come along with us is really the value we have here. And we knew we needed to build something that was more out in the public, something that's searchable, something that shows up on Google. If somebody says, how do I get involved in cycling advocacy Calgary, and it's like, boom, Unsprawling Forum, here's all the people, here's all the things that are happening, is really our long-term vision. Something that's open source, something that we can actually go back in and change, and something that we can maintain without relying on venture capital is a big one. I actually want to get a little bit more from that on that from Corbyn, because I think that was just having you there talking about, I don't know, like Unsprawling was looking at a lot of more like proprietary sources to do some of the same work that we're doing. And I think having somebody there like, hey, is there an open source alternative for this? I think that was really, really helpful. Talk a little bit about sustainability in tech and how that relates to community building.
I just have general concerns with when I hear community organizations initially wanting to jump onto traditionally easier options, like a lot of them are using Google Drive, and a lot of them might jump to using, I don't know what form-based solutions, but some would jump onto using like Squarespace or Wix to start a website, and being not only financially liable as an organization for paying for those services can be a risk to their long-term sustainability, because if they have a major expense of keeping a service running, and then board changes or the people in the organization change, and then it stops paying it, or people forget credentials, things like that, that can be an issue. But then even a lot of proprietary free solutions can be a liability, because in the for-profit capitalistic side of software, things that are given away for free are often just a way to quickly build user base for those companies, and then they rug pull and pull saying, oh, now you as an organization will owe hundreds or thousands of dollars. And so the organization is then stuck paying that bill. So having it be open source makes the organization, gives it a lot more liberty in being able to run it on any platform, not being liable to pay, and if they stop paying, they can't use it. Because something like Discourse, we could theoretically run on a Raspberry Pi. In somebody's attic or basement or whatever. It could even run on like a solar panel and you would have next to zero cost other than hardware. So having it be portable, open source are hugely beneficial, because it creates kind of a perma-computing environment where it allows you to grow and change without being so financially latched onto larger corporations that don't have non-profit organizations' interests at heart. It's an open source, a non-profit organization in business with for-profit organizations will always be adversarial, because the for-profit organization is always going to look at how much money they can squeeze out of nonprofits. And I see this in a lot of the work I do in IT consulting, where nonprofits are stuck paying thousands of dollars a month to Microsoft or Google, etc. Because even though they're all lovey-dovey in the beginning and saying, oh yeah, we'll provide these services for free or heavily subsidized, that'll slowly start eroding away, either with new features that the company requests licensing for, or they'll just say, oh, sorry, we don't offer that for free or subsidized. So it's a little bit of paranoia, but it's also, I think, just a little bit of common sense in giving a nonprofit organization that's starting up long-term freedom and liberty in being able to run on their own, at least if they have the know-how. But that is an issue too, is when you do more open source and self-hosted solutions in software, you are more reliant on internal knowledge and labor. And so a really important thing I've been trying to instill in Jakob and so forth is saying we need to document everything we can about how we're building this out, how we're maintaining this, and creating documents so future people can continue to run it. Because it's likely, if an organization is to last long, we won't still be involved in the organization. People come and go. So we need that human-focused, long-term documentation and kind of that long-termism mindset to say we're creating things so that future people involved can still keep things running past when we're not here.
Totally. And that all that documentation is publicly available in the documentation side of the website, which has changed names a couple times, but I think right now it's still documentation. So that you can see all of the, I guess, like the stack that creates the unsprawling infrastructure, and the different information about how those things run, so that if you wanted to even copy what we're doing and take it to a different city, or one thing that I have talked about with Alex a few times is like Unsprawling is really a capacity building organization where we want people to come in with very little experience of how to do this stuff, but they have ideas, and if we bring an environment of tons of different skills and perspectives together, we can make those ideas become realities very quickly. And so in the case that somebody comes in and they get a little bit of experience with content production, they start to generate their own voice a bit, they start to feel more confident, and they start thinking, as much as they love Unsprawling, maybe it's not the best deal for them to do all of their stuff through Unsprawling when they feel confident that they could actually create their own audience. They can still post all their stuff on our platform, make their own, maybe even make the same type of platform that we have, and like clone it and do something else with it. And then we can use some of the federation and the integration stuff to actually keep that within the system in a way that gives those people the autonomy that they deserve, but still keeps that connected, so that knowledge is still shared. Does anybody else have anything to share about I guess tech and sustainability, or I guess sustainability in general is really, really great to have in the back of your head when it comes to community building, because this stuff does take so many people over such a long time.
I can jump in a bit. I started a club at MRU a few years ago, and I mean, I'm not sure, it's kind of in a weird place right now. I don't know if it's going to be continuing, but it was called the Sustainable Development Goals Student Hub, and then changed its name to Student Changemaker Hub. Not the point, but just for context, I guess. And a lot of what I learned through that is that, I was trying to make it last somehow, or I put in a lot of time and effort and resources to hopefully keep what I had created, for, if it comes up in the future again, or pass it on to other leaders taking over. It can be challenging, especially in like a post-secondary environment, just because, there's a certain bureaucracy, and once something ends, it just kind of ends, and any knowledge gained or any experiences or lessons or cool things that you were going to do and like beginnings of projects that never really got anywhere just kind of die off. And I mean, it's sad, but it's also just like not helpful then for the next person that's trying to come in and do stuff. So yeah, I think the documentation aspect is really cool, and anything else with the forum, with tags and everything, to be able to find stuff easier so it like never dies. Yeah, just to continue, I guess, helping people, knowledge sharing. That's kind of the root of all that.
Emma, did you find any benefit in using non-tech solutions like paper, binders, and written form?
We never really tried that, to be honest. Never thought about it, but I mean, I know it's been a conversation lately that like paper lasts forever, tech might be like dying out or changing, or not dying out, but yeah, just always changing. So you can feel free to pick up your point about that.
I think definitely we've seen like this kind of thing might have happened 4 years ago on Twitter. That might have been like a platform where something like this could have actually happened, where you could meet people and get stuff done together. But that platform needed to make money, and so it started getting nastier and nastier and more monetized, and now it's difficult to do anything fun on Twitter. And so I think that's definitely a big part of the conversation is how do we make this the really beautiful community building aspect of this last, without having it morph into something nasty to make up for that. And I think we're seeing a lot of the kind of the death of the advertisement a little bit. Corbyn had shared this article with me a few months ago just about how a lot of these advertiser firms are catching on to the fact that ads don't actually do a hell of a lot for sales, and so they're pulling their money out of these platforms, and so they're running out of money, and it's all venture capital backed, and they need to pay their debts, and it's like all starting to become worse and worse and worse. And Unsprawling Forum does not have this issue. Everything is open source. We just need the people who love it and want to maintain it and keep it thriving and active. And I think it's so big where I almost think about it. And this is a little bit neurodivergent of me, where we're kind of implementing the practice of good urban planning in like a virtual forum. Virtual forum, no U in that word. Where instead of making these separated suburban islands, where I don't know what the car is in this metaphor. But you know, there's not so much that you can do in these little campfires that are full of just kindling. But if something is really a little denser and more connected and more collaborative, it might be a little messier. But I think those things get the care that they need when there's more people interacting in a bit of a smaller space. And so that's what I'm really excited about. Jake, you own the domain. You're footing the bill on most of this stuff for now. So I want to get your perspective on what are some things that people could do to help our platform run a little bit more sustainably into the future.
Yeah, I think I would just pile onto the idea of radical transparency. Like right now, you can literally go on the forum and find out how much we're paying for the domain name, as well as the server costs, which providers we're using. You can critique which providers we're using if you want. You can say you shouldn't be using Namecheap. That's well, Corbyn has done that already. They're a private company and not open source. We're always trying to find better options. But yeah, like you said, in terms of longevity, I can't even say that word right now. Longevity.
That is a weird word. How are you supposed to say that?
Long-termism?
In terms of
long...
Yeah, in terms of long-termism.
We're making up a new word.
Or platform sustainability. Yeah, radical transparency is super important, and documentation and everything like that. Like the fact, I want anybody to be able to basically come on the forum if they want and completely copy it. Like, just do your own thing in your own city if you want, and see where it goes. But yeah, we're here to break down walls and
Totally.
we'll see where it takes us.
Would it be
No
helpful if we
representatives
got
from WDC yet, but I would be interested to be in contact with them about if they would be interested in our platform.
WDC?
Walls Down Collective.
Ooh.
It's this cool, basically like fully functioning anarcho-communist society in Calgary, like actually operating today. They do like lots of training for like community safety and things. Anyway, it's not my grift, but it's interesting to see all the different things that are happening in Calgary all the time that maybe people would have no idea about.
Absolutely.
Would it be beneficial if we got grants from donors for saying like they would give a grant to keep the forum and the domain running for 15-20 years?
Totally. This is one of the things that we're working with. One of our friends, Tim, I think is an accountant, but has a lot of background in helping nonprofits thrive, and has been on a bunch of boards, and is putting together like a bit of a playbook for us on how to get a nonprofit organization started up so that you can actually have a bank account and you can start looking for grants and things like that, because that's definitely the next frontier, I think, for Unsprawling to actually function. And this is something we've been talking about for a while, is we do need to be able to provide for the people who are putting effort into this platform and putting value into it, is we need to be able to give that value back to them one way or another. And so these are things that I'm not intelligent enough to do on my own, but I definitely welcome people with a little bit more business intellect to come through and let us know how we can run some of these things in a way that is like really a service to the community. And I think it might look like, I know a lot of people, either they can give their time or they can give their money, but it's usually not both. And so even just having like some kind of donation button usually generates quite a lot of income. I know with a lot of the organizations in town like Sustainable Calgary or Calgary Climate Hub, they're a little bit more serious and have been around for a little bit longer. And so I think it's definitely really great to reach out to those people when it comes to learning more about this stuff. And totally, that's a bit more to the future of building this organization as we go. And we'd love anybody watching to be a part of that. Like we're saying, this is all about the radical barrier-free transparency that we really want people to come along and be part of this with us in a non-territorial way, because I think we're really trying to design these platforms to be stronger with more people rather than weaker or more separate with more people. And so we're always looking for people to come in and add their ideas. And I think that's really what we see with the panel that's here. Is me and Alex just kind of started Unsprawling as like a bit of like a social media like media production click, and then it became more and more obvious with the more people that joined that there were different things that we needed to do to make that functional, because media production's not everybody's skill set, but we can still have people with different skills be really, really valuable in that. And so we really became like an organization that's trying to create platforms, and so social media is just one of those platforms. I'm trying to think, I think it was like Jake and Emma, when you guys were working on the CRM and you were kind of talking with different people from different organizations about what would be useful for them, that we landed on the idea to build the forum. Do you guys remember what some of the really early feedback was that it sort of clicked that this is something we got to do?
I guess I can jump in there. So I forget whether we reached out to people before we started building that organization list or reached out during it, but one of the organization leaders we spoke to was really excited about the idea of inviting people to events. It was something they highlighted. and an easy way to contact them in like even like an email list format, or in the forum group for like in the forum right now you can contact specific groups that are signed up through there. So that was one specific feature I remember them requesting. Yeah, I'm not sure. Emma, do you recall any of the other specific features that were mentioned?
Not right at this moment. I
That's
mean,
fine.
yeah, I know we talked about the calendar and like the email list or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, to have, or just to have contact with a whole bunch of, different organizations. Like, everyone or organizations always have their own CRMs. I mean, that's kind of how I got so many populated on this one from, Youthful Cities and from the SDG Hub and just everything that I've kind of built on. So, yeah, a lot of what organizations are trying to do is just reach more people, ultimately. And this is hopefully kind of like a one-stop shop to do that, to reach out, to find the people you need to find in organizations instead of having to hunt everyone down, through the About and Teams and go through a contact form because they don't have the email listed. And yeah, just hopefully make it easier to connect with people.
Absolutely. I think I kind of merged the two ideas there, which is why I couldn't think of two. It was the event calendar and the email list / sending invites to groups and people.
We haven't mentioned the groups yet, but I think that's a really, really awesome part of the forum. That's not like fully like as awesome as it could be yet, but it's pretty, like it's definitely at the stage where I'm happy about it and ready to show it to people, where you can join groups. So like that's one thing, is if we're going to make this big platform where everybody can come in and do their thing, we have to make it not turn into this very monotonous melting pot, right? We really want it to shine, allow people to show off their different interests, not only find their different interests, obviously through tags, but really show off the different interests that they have, and their different affiliations with different groups. And so we have the groups where different organizations can come on and create like these, like, I don't even know how it works in the back end. It's just super cool. As you just click and then you see like a list of all the different groups and then the people who are in those, and then those give you like little colors or logos on your profile. I think it's super cool. I think that's so awesome. And that can give you different notifications for different sections, so that maybe you're not seeing you like automatically get kind of notifications for the things you actually care about. And there's a lot of those little things that we can change with the UI or UX to make it even more streamlined and make even more sense for people. Jake, you sound like you want to hop in.
I was gonna. Sorry, I'm very excited about these groups. Yeah, so every group can set their own owner as well of their group, and so that owner or owners can kind of operate as their point of contact for other organizations. So say somebody from that group posts an initiative or an event, and somebody else from another organization or just some random person's like, oh, that sounds really interesting. How can I learn more? How can I get in touch to collaborate? They could just click on that group and figure out who that point of contact is without having to climb through jumps and hurdles to find it. And that piles onto the idea of the forum not being behind a sign-up wall or anything, or just being easily able to find this sort of information. Yeah.
Totally. I think we like saying break down walls, but there is a lot of a reason to cling on to an identity that you find really valuable to you and important, and be able to show that and cherish that. And this is I think back in the day, there was probably a little bit of chatter in the community check-ins where we're saying like, unsprawling doesn't mean like getting rid of our suburban communities. It means connecting them with better transit. And so that's really what like we're doing with our community building as well. Is we're not saying, no, don't start an organization. We don't need more organizations. We say, do whatever you want to, and you'll have a place for it right here still. And so like, I really think that every new initiative, every new organization, every new perspective really strengthens the value that we have. And that's why I'm so happy and excited to share this with the people who would find it interesting. First 50 users will give you a founder's badge. Corbyn had the good idea that we'll put a little golden star on your profile to the first 50 users. We're currently not there, so you still got a chance to get in there if you click the link and you sign up now. I think we still have lots of work that needs to be done. So if you're interested in helping out with that as well, you can hop into our Discord, or we'll have spots for that as the forum open up as we move some of our operations onto there. Big one, I think, is really following through with the decentralization and getting some like webhooky stuff and some federation so that we can really connect different platforms together, not just have our own platform. What are some like next steps that you guys see for making this a really successful place?
I think having it seen as primarily, well, it sounds like your intention is having Unsprawling and the forum. You described other communities as campfires, and it sounds like you maybe want Unsprawling to be the map and or bike lanes and or public transit of the other communities, or campfires to connect them. Is that right?
Perhaps in the more long term. Yeah, there was I really don't want the design of the forum to turn into like starting to separate people out by their different interests, but still provide ways for people to find their interests and show them off.
But you want it to be a map kind of in the short run, right?
Yes, totally. I think early on we will definitely have lots of links to different organizations and how to get activated with them. I know that's one thing I wanted to do with the wikis, is just have like an article that explains each organization and maybe some of their history. And then we've been struggling to implement info boxes where we can easily put some of their like social links and things like that on the side there. But that's definitely a really, really awesome way to get people engaged with this.
So what I would tell people is I would urge folks to use the forum and the Unsprawling and other communities as jumping off points for finding ways to actively and physically engage in your community.
Totally.
Through community art, through community events, through engaging in potlucks, in getting out and just talking with your neighbors and doing things that activate your community. Because I think a lot of online platforms end up kind of being a be-all end-all for many people, including myself sometimes, where I just feel like I use these places as a way to either share memes or complain about things without doing anything about it. And I think it's an easy trap to get into when using online platforms. But really pushing ourselves to use these not as an end point or an end goal, but as a diving board into our communities.
I think I would just say the best example we have of that right now is one of our good friends, more neighbors, is passionate about starting a Calgary Riders Union or Calgary Transit Union for riders on the Calgary Transit Network. Very early stages on that, but Unsprawling can kind of give that idea kind of a base to start from. Find people who are interested in participating or others who might have the same idea, and I think it's the perfect spot for Unsprawling, or perfect role for Unsprawling to play.
Yeah, if you've got an organization already, especially to Corbyn's point, CAs, if you have a CA that does things and you want to do cool things in your neighborhood, maybe there's some people who really like doing cool things that live in your neighborhood that you can get in contact with.
That's an acronym for community association?
CA, yes. Emma, what's your vision for Unsprawling moving forward?
Yeah, I agree with everyone's thoughts on it. I think I'm really excited to see like who kind of takes it over, or like not takes it over because it's not being controlled by anybody, but who becomes more active and joins the community and takes it to other communities or other sectors specifically. Like, I mean, as a psychology graduate, well, not graduate, degree, I have it, whatever. The point is, mental health is important, and it might not be something that's super urban-centric. It can be in ways, but there's a whole bunch of other sort of ecosystems that connects to, and different governmental funding and all that. So, I mean, this is obviously thinking like way big, but it would be, just really cool if other organizations and sectors were able to take some form of inspiration from platforms like this. Like, I'm not saying we're going to be the ones to inspire and take over how the world shares information, but I do think that it can hopefully serve as some inspiration for, just for connecting things more, for any social problem. I really am passionate kind of about like everything, so that's why I like the collaboration and the like knowledge sharing hub sort of thing that we've got going here. It's gonna be great.
Totally. Thank you so much. That's so inspiring. If anybody has...
You almost want to see us planting seeds of a tree that might plant other seeds.
Yes, it's a big, beautiful organism that hopefully spreads very far and wide. A big community garden that everybody can come and plant something in as well. So get down. It'll be in the description. Or community.unsprawling.org. It's pretty sweet. It's a pretty awesome domain that's pretty easy to remember. Go sign up. You might not have something super on topic. Getting super involved in activism might not be your jig, but hopefully it really does make some space for everybody to come in and find something that interests them, and find the people that they can share that experience with, and we can create a Calgary that is friendlier and more collaborative and more communicative. And yeah, I'm super excited to see it. Does anybody have any final remarks before we sign off for the night?
I would just say thank you to anybody who listened to the very end of this podcast.
Yes. Awesome. Well, we'll see you around. Thank you, everybody, for watching the Unsprawling podcast. I've been your host, Biz, and these are the friends that make the Unsprawling Forum possible. And we hope to see you in the next episode. Bye-bye for now.